Hello and good morning and welcome to another episode of The Conscious Female Founder. I am your host, Sally Tarbox. I am also the owner of a company called The Empowerment Movement, where I work with other entrepreneurs to help them increase their passive income in their business. I'm also an international best-selling author. I have been on Fox TV for my business achievements, and I'm due to go back out in November to film with NBC. So I'm really, really excited to be sat down here with you guys today. I am joined with the beautiful Katerina, and she is a health and well-being coach. She has spent over 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, but has broken off on her own and set up an absolutely amazing business supporting other women. So I'm really, really excited to be sat down with you today. I know we only met kind of fairly recently, and you were sort of telling me a bit about your backstory and things like that. And I was like, you've got such an incredible story and you're on such a mission. So it's an absolute honor to have you here today. So thank you so much for joining me. So I've obviously introduced you slightly, but it'd be great for you to maybe introduce yourself to my audience and things like that, and give us a bit of a backstory of who you are, what you do, and sort of how it's all come about, really.
Thank you, Sally. It's an absolute privilege to be invited on your podcast. So thank you for inviting me. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to speak about what I do and to help increase the awareness with women's health. So, as you said, I have had experience in the medical and pharmaceutical industry for over 20 years. So I worked closely with doctors and NHS partners. So I have a very good idea about how the NHS works.
Yes.
And also about how doctors work. And I've had extensive training, highly regulated training in different fields within the medical and pharmaceutical field. So yeah, that was since university. And back at university, my interest was in science. My degree was in science. I have had a massive passion for medicine since I was a young child. So I love working with people. I love helping people. And what I do at the moment, so basically, as you said, I'm a health and wellbeing coach.
Yes.
I specialize in women's health, and I'm a certified menopause champion, licensed with Menopause Experts Group. So that came about a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's very interesting. And my main objective is to guide and support women through their hormonal challenges, in particular menopause, perimenopause.
Yeah.
And what I really want to do is to create an awareness in younger women as well, not just the women that are going through changes already, but menopause, perimenopause, which is the stage before, actually can come sooner than we expect it to.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important for women to have that awareness from a younger age so that they can be prepared and be proactive and protect their health. Yeah. Because with menopause, health risks come, such as cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis. So it's really important that we look after our health, and very important that we are aware of what to expect.
Yeah, and I think as well, like you said, when you're, because obviously I guess there's like two different types of people you're kind of working here with a little bit. It's like, yes, you want to help obviously the women that are going through this particular stage of their life, but equally, like you said, maybe educate the younger generation as to what to expect. But then equally at the same time, by doing that, you're gonna create a bit of a ripple effect, because obviously they might have mums or older siblings or aunties, or you know what I mean? So it's understanding that if you educate the younger set of women as well, actually that might have a really positive effect on both sides, right? Because it'll have a positive effect on them because they are better equipped for what's going to come later in life. But equally, then they can support their mums or other female people in their life and in their network as they go through that. So understanding that there's like two different sides of it. Yeah. Okay, so obviously you spent over 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry. So what kind of, I guess, what and obviously you've got all this, was it a case of like you just felt like you had all this wealth of knowledge and you wanted to use it in a completely different way, or was there something pivotal that happened in your life where you're like, do you know what, can't do the corporate anymore, I've got loads of knowledge and now I want to do something completely different? Like what was the moment for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, being a young person in the pharmaceutical industry is wonderful. There's a lot of traveling, there's a lot of extra hours work.
Yeah.
You know, it's a wonderful world to be in, very challenging. And I loved doing it. And then there came a point where I got married and I wanted to have children.
Yeah.
And so aspects of, you know, difficulties with fertility came up and
Okay.
different things. Eventually I was successful. I had 4 rounds of IVF. And by the
Wow.
way, I have a history in endometriosis and polycystic ovaries. So I had very painful periods from the time that I started my periods.
Yeah.
So all of this was very challenging. It is very challenging in life, as most girls and women will know. But you kind of unknowingly just carry on. You carry
Yeah.
on with things. You just get on with it. And the impression is that this is normal. You just carry on and just
Yeah.
do your school, do your work, do your job, you know, have children. And there came a point after I had my children, thankfully, with IVF, it was successful, and I'm so proud to have 2 teenage boys.
Yeah.
When they were young, I was working all hours round the clock. So
Mm.
the guilt kicked in,
Oh yeah, right.
the hard work. It's really hard to multitask. And of course, then you've got other issues like your own health,
Yeah.
endometriosis. Not to say that I'm an unhealthy person. I just thought of myself as normal. So I just carried on.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only when I actually did go for diagnostics, for fertility diagnostics, that I discovered that I had endometriosis.
Yeah.
And that explained quite a few challenges that I was experiencing and symptoms that I was having. So eventually, when I got to the point I have children, I'm working really hard, I'm finding it really stressful. It's
Mm.
becoming harder to multitask. It's becoming harder to stay awake whilst I'm working.
Yes. Definitely
Driving
get that.
hundreds of miles around the country and not getting much sleep because you've got, you know, children waking you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Thankfully, mine actually don't wake up anymore, but they're teenagers. So
Yeah, you got on the other end of the scale where they don't want to go to bed.
yeah, I go to bed before they do. So it all became really difficult. And then COVID hit, and it was madness. I was
Mm.
in the same room as my children. My job had changed. So I was no longer working in hospitals in front of specialists, doctors. I was now behind my screen in the
Yeah.
same room with my husband, my children. It was madness. I
Yeah.
found it really hard. And then the anxiety kicked in and the stress kicked in and the lack of ability to multitask. It just was madness. It was really difficult. And then, of course, certain things happened, personal
Yeah.
matters, and family was
Yeah.
sick, and
Yeah.
my mother-in-law tragically passed away. I was made redundant.
Jeez.
And I decided, right, I've got this huge amount of knowledge. By the way, I took a good year or two off.
Yeah. Just
I
to
just
kind of,
needed to
yeah.
pull myself back in.
Mm.
And then I thought, I've got all this knowledge. I just don't want to waste all this knowledge. And I discovered that I was perimenopausal.
Mm.
Um, and actually, I became perimenopausal at the age of 40, just after I had my second child.
Yeah.
And I have been going through it for years, but even though I have a medical background, I myself didn't recognize that I was
Yeah.
going through the perimenopause. And I was sent from pillar to post by doctors, seeing different specialists, and none of it added up. And eventually, when I did put 2 and 2 together, I was referred to a specialist menopause clinic, and things worked out for me. I went on HRT. So at this point, when COVID hit and all this madness was going on, I was struggling. I was
Yeah.
really struggling. And then I thought, I'd like to do something that I can help other women, I can help myself, and I have more time with my family.
Yeah.
And you reach a certain stage where your body is naturally telling you that
Yeah.
you can't do all of that stuff anymore. It's time to change.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I did an accredited training course as a health and wellbeing coach.
Yeah.
And then I did my certification with a few menopause courses, and I became licensed with Menopause Experts Group. So that's the whole story in
It's
a
incredible.
nutshell.
I think it's you touched on a couple of points there, which are so interesting to sort of like just dive into, because I do think there is a point in life sometimes where, as women and moms especially, you have this sense of like having just to keep going. You've got to keep
Yeah,
going. And it's the relentlessness of that, and almost like that internal struggle of knowing, actually, I'm really struggling. But I've got to keep going. And it's interesting, almost like life sometimes almost does you a bit of a favor. It puts your back up against the wall, don't get me wrong, and it's scary, right? But it almost
mm,
does you a favor because it kind of makes you stop and go, this isn't okay. Like it's like something's going to break, and I think it's going to be me.
yeah,
So actually, yes, obviously losing your job and going through that period of COVID, and obviously losing your mother-in-law as well, must have been incredibly tough. But
mm,
actually, probably what's happened is it's kind of given you a blessing in a roundabout way, because it's given you the ability to stop, but stop with the point of like, oh my gosh, my back is absolutely against the wall and I'm gonna crumble. So
yeah,
I think what you've done is really admirable, because you could have gone completely the other way and been like, no, like I'll just keep going, it's okay, like, but actually that's going to have such a detrimental effect on your health. It's going to have a huge effect on your family and your well-being and your home life and relationships as a whole, right? Because when we start to have that internal like struggle, it has a ripple effect. So
yeah.
I am an absolute massive supporter, and I applaud you hugely, because
Thank
it
you.
must have been really you obviously you had all this knowledge, you knew you wanted to do something else, so it must have taken a lot of confidence and courage to be like, okay, as opposed to looking for another job, I'm gonna step out of this because I want to help people, and I want to, but I want to do it on my terms, and I want to do it my way.
Yeah,
what did
absolutely.
what did that feel like for you? So like, did you, because obviously now you've set up this amazing business, you're helping other women, I know, because you do lots of different things, don't you, in regards to the way you kind of, I guess, run your coaching business, because you do one-to-one coaching, you do group coaching. I know you've been in gyms recently helping women, which is incredible. I know you've done work in schools, like supporting them and their teaching staff as well. So like, for you, like, did you have a point where you're like, oh, you know what, like, I guess a bit of self-doubt along the way?
Absolutely, especially during COVID. I think everyone's life was so difficult, and it kind of forced a lot of changes into place for everybody. And yeah, there comes a point in your life when you do lose your confidence and you
Yeah.
do doubt yourself. And I think everyone goes through
Yeah.
stages of self-doubt and lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And especially when I was made redundant, it's like, why me?
Yeah.
But like you said, I actually saw it as a blessing in disguise, because I knew for a long time that I wanted to do something different. I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure what. And then when all the sort of chaos calmed down a little bit, I had some coaching myself.
Yeah.
I had a really wonderful coach, which I still communicate with.
Yeah.
And his name's Craig Foster, by the way.
Yeah.
I had to drop that one.
Yeah,
But
go for it.
he really gave me hope. Having coaching sessions with me, with him, gave me hope and an understanding of myself
Yeah.
and what potential I have, and how we all kind of through life, our abilities and our strengths kind of get hidden with
Yeah.
all the noise going on around us, and we
Yeah.
forget what we're capable of. So that gave me a huge boost in confidence.
Yeah.
And having been coached, I thought, wow, this is amazing. I
Yeah.
can do this for other people
Yeah.
in my own niche. And the fact that I'm going through certain experiences myself and have done most of my life, I have that personal insight
Yeah.
into how women are feeling, how women are struggling, what challenges they have at work, what
Yeah.
challenges they have at home. You
Yeah.
know, there's challenges with relationships, there's challenges with all sorts of things. And that really spurred me on, if you like, to take
Yeah.
this on. And I love doing it. I get so much satisfaction
Yeah.
from talking to women and being able to give them insights and help them as to what they're going through or what to expect.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing. I think, yeah, again, you've touched on some really amazing points there, because I'm a coach myself, and again, I kind of started out the same way in regards to kind of feeling very lost, right, and being like, I don't know what's going on here, like I don't know what I'm doing in my life, like is this it, sort of thing. So yeah, I took on various coaches, and I still do to
yeah,
this day. I massively pour time back into myself. And I love having coaches, and I love being a coach, because it's almost like you can take this person from this point and you can kind of guide them. And then when you're having that on the other end as well on a bigger scale, it's just incredible. That's why I love this industry so much. I'm
yeah,
such a big advocate for it. So thank you first and foremost for carrying that on as well, because it is so true. And it's a really nice industry, because there's so many different people with different skill sets that are
yeah,
helping other people, almost like paying it forward slightly to a certain degree, and being like, I know where, like, especially with clients and stuff, like I know where you're at because I've been there and I've walked the path and I've got the tools and I've got the ability to help you through this period of your life, which is amazing, because then you can see the change in those particular clients and those
yeah,
people that you're working with. And that is just, like you said, it's so rewarding. Like it's so utterly rewarding.
it is.
Do you, I know obviously, like you said, yeah, you kind of, you went through periods of having your confidence knocked. And I can completely understand that, like losing your job or that particular period of your life. And yeah, having that sense of like, why me? Like, especially if you've been doing it a long time as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
definitely to be feeling like, why me? Do you, and as you went through your kind of coaching period, like, do you now, have you picked up, I guess, like tools and tricks and tips, like if you ever feel those days of still like, because I think as entrepreneurs and business owners that we all get it. Like you could look at anybody and they'll be like, oh no, we all get it. We all get days of like, oh, am I good enough? Or oh, what am I doing here? Which direction
Yeah.
is the business? Like we all get it. But I
Yes, we do.
think we all sometimes have like tips and tricks and tools that we've obviously picked up along the way and that we teach other people. Do you have that? Do you have like a toolbox? Like if you're ever having a day of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely. I do have my own toolbox, and there
Yeah.
are days. I mean, it's up and down. I mean,
Mm.
life isn't perfect, right? So,
No, it's not at all.
you
We
know,
are
we're only
normal women.
yeah,
It's
we are
hard at
normal,
times.
hardworking, multitasking women,
Yes.
and it's really hard to stay on track. And for me, one of my worst menopause symptoms is brain fog.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of this
So
one. Yeah.
brain fog and anxiety. So basically, I could be talking like I am now and completely forget what
Yeah.
I'm saying. There are days where I can't string a sentence together.
Yeah.
So there are many things, strategies that you can do for that.
Yeah.
So practical things, just simple things. It doesn't need to take time out of your day. You can still carry on with your working day and doing what you do.
Yeah.
But just simple things like, you know, breath work, or
Yeah.
just I don't know, relaxing for a few minutes, or going for a walk, or
Mm.
you know, just taking 5 minutes out to sort of
Yeah.
recompose yourself,
Yeah.
and find your way. So that there are lots of different techniques, which is what I like to talk about
Yeah.
with the ladies that I coach. And it could be simple things like rehydrating, making sure you
Yeah.
hydrate properly and eat properly and sleep properly. And I think
Yeah.
with perimenopause, I think that with some women, everyone's unique, not everyone's the same, but
Yeah, of course.
sleep disruption can be a really big factor
Yeah.
in in our daily performance and our mood swings, our mental health, as well as our physical health.
Yeah.
So little strategies, little nuggets that we talk about with other women to sort of help you get through that time.
Yeah, for sure. So going like into the business side of things slightly. So obviously you're doing your one-to-one coaching, but you're also doing work in gyms and you're doing work in schools. I know you've done other events along the way. What does the business sort of look like for you? Is there one particular area that you're really focused on? Because obviously you're helping loads of women and it's amazing. And I'm such an advocate for it because I love seeing women support other women. How does the business sort of look for you?
So initially when I started, I was my goal was perhaps to go into corporate and help women who are in that position and that peak of their career, and then suddenly things are changing for them and it's compromising their ability, if you like. Not to say that we lose our ability,
No.
but it's so important in the workplace, and it's all about encouraging the people around, creating awareness, not just the women that are going through this, but for the people that are working closely with them or living with the women. So basically, by creating awareness, you're opening communication, and of course, in the workplace, it can be really challenging depending on the type of environment that you're working with.
Of course, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But if employers understand what their employees are experiencing, more support can be put into place.
Yeah.
And of course, that helps retain staff, retain talent, and it can be more costly for companies when they lose talent. And
yeah, of course it can, right?
A huge percentage of the workforce are female, and all women go through the menopause. Not saying that all women experience symptoms, but all women do go through the menopause. And not just menopause, there's menstruation and women with endometriosis that struggle on a monthly or even daily basis at work. So, I mean, that was the plan initially, but there are so many opportunities to help in other areas. So, for example, teacher training, which was a wonderful experience, and something that I'd like to pursue, because the more education in schools, like you said, the ripple effect, it goes down to the children. And I think young women and girls should know more about their health and what to expect. And I remember struggling with my painful periods at school. And my sister's a teacher, my best friend's a teacher, and I hear that these, is it RSE? I can't remember what it's called, but teaching children in schools about sexual health and everything else and periods is done by teachers, and teachers are not trained for that. You know, I mean, it varies from school to school, but back in the day when I was a child, we had a school nurse teach us. So things are a little bit different nowadays. So I think by starting on one of the rungs of the ladder and working through sends that ripple effect, and that education can be passed down. You know, and I know there are organizations and charities that do want to get into this work. So there's an endometriosis, the endometriosis charity that are doing some work in schools. So that's a wonderful field to be working with. And then recently I was invited to a gym, a wonderful gym, 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐬 Gym in Cuffley, to provide a service for the women, not just members, but non-members also, to be able to talk about hormone health and offer a coaching service individually to women who want to complement their journey of well-being.
Absolutely,
fitness. So I think coaching fits really nicely into that.
It does, definitely, because you kind of, I guess, generally find those sorts of women are aware of obviously their physical health, their mental health. I used to work out a hell of a lot, and a lot of my friends used to say to me, I think, like, half the time I do it for my mental health. And I was like, absolutely. Like, yes, I like to be physically fit. I like my body to be strong, to be fit, to be
Yeah.
healthy. But actually, for me, it really helps my mental health as well. Like running and weight training. So I think that exactly what you're saying, like that coaching piece fits really nicely into that, like really, really nicely.
It does.
You are literally a superwoman. You are a powerhouse. You are helping. Yeah,
I wouldn't say a superwoman.
absolutely. You are. Do not doubt yourself. You are, though, because you're helping women in so many different sectors. But like I was saying, there is such a ripple effect, because whether it be in the corporate industry, where you're training maybe senior members of staff on how they can support women within their industry or their business, whether it be women that you're helping within the teaching community. And again, that has a ripple effect down onto the children. It will have a ripple effect into the dynamics within the school as well, like, because there are so many women of this age, especially like in primary, that I think are probably going through this process. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's head of early years for a big school in London, and I was talking to her about what you do, and she was like, yes, we need more of this, because there are so many women in the school that are teachers or teaching assistants, or the majority of the staffing are female and are of that kind of age. She was like, so it will create such a good ripple effect, because it will have an effect on what the head can get out of the staff, but also what the children can get out of the staff as well. And
absolutely,
that has an effect on how they learn. So it's this ripple effect that's happening. And that's why I'm like, you are a superwoman, you are an absolute powerhouse. And it's wonderful to see that you are so passionate about what you do, but it comes from a place of having been through it, right?
Yeah,
you're not
absolutely.
trying to teach people something that you haven't experienced yourself. Like, you've experienced this on a really big level, and it's impacted you. So it's amazing that you're using all this knowledge from, obviously, from your past, from the pharmaceutical side of things, but then equally at the same time from an actual personal perspective as well. And that's what I love so much. And that's why I love having conversations with you and other women and business owners about this, because a lot of the time you find that actually what they're teaching or what they're doing, they have experienced. It's first-hand experience. And it's using that wealth of knowledge and bringing it together and really being able to help people. And that's what I find so inspiring, and that's why I love what you do so much.
And I have to say, the ripple effect includes men as well.
It will do, though, right?
Because we have partners and we have, obviously, in the workplace, there's men in the workplace. And they need to also understand what's happening. So to be able to make changes within the workplace and within schools and everything else, everyone needs to understand that men are also very important, because hopefully they can support women through all of this. And it's really important to have that communication. I mean, when my husband understood what I was going through, eventually it kind of all made sense, because he probably thought that I was this crazy woman at some point. And my boys are 13 and 16, and they know all about the perimenopause and hormones and everything. And it fits in really well, because obviously they're going through hormonal changes too.
Of course, right?
Like Clash of the Titans, but as long as we all know, we all have that kind of understanding and empathy with each other. And so it works really well. And I don't think that hormones, yes, they are in our household, but I don't think they're an issue, because we all understand what everyone is experiencing. So I think that's kind of the amazing side of it. And at some point, I would like to reach out to men. So that's another sort of angle that I want to take.
Because it's true, isn't it? It will affect home life as well, right? And it can either have a negative effect or it can have a positive effect. So understanding each, especially like you're in a home where you have probably hormonal boys, and other people might be in a home where they have teenage girls who are hormonal. Understanding that, and then if you've got this I guess dad or husband or whatever in the home as well, and he's then dealing with hormonal children, a wife who doesn't quite understand that she's going through something, but he thinks she's going through something, but doesn't want to talk about it. If you're bringing that understanding together, then you have a level of empathy and knowledge, and then it will affect the home dynamic in a really positive way if you can make it work that way. And that's why, yeah, if you're then going on to try and help men as well, that's amazing, right? Because then you can educate them.
Yeah,
You are
absolutely.
you are amazing. You are an absolute woman on a mission, and I love it. I'm so here for it. So
Well,
one of the things that you touched on earlier, like, okay, so for me, I class myself as quite a spiritual person, but I know spirituality can show up for different people in so many different ways, right? It doesn't just have to be religion or anything like that. But one of the things I massively pull on for myself is gratitude. I do journal, I do breath work, and I kind of keep my energy in a really good place, and I'm very protective of managing who I spend time with. Would you, I guess one of my questions would be like, do you class yourself as a spiritual person, or does that show up in your life, or is there anything you do in your everyday life that kind of helps you rebalance yourself so you can feel like you can show up as the best version of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question to answer because I've never considered myself spiritual in the conventional sense.
Yeah.
But I do have times where I'm, considering self-preservation. And I think over the last few years, I have become more spiritual in the sense that I value myself more and need to take time out for myself. I don't always necessarily do it, but I try to practice what I preach. It's not always possible, but valuing myself, my peace of mind, back to my roots, where I come from, and why I'm here. So there's, like you said, there's lots of ways of experiencing spirituality, and I guess that's my way, and I haven't really consciously thought about it, but I do consciously now think of my own energy and preserving myself, not just for me, but also for my family, because they need you, and we're here for a reason. We have a job to do as well, and to spread the word. So I think it's really important, and I do take time out to breathe sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And
I think that sorry to butt in, that's amazing that you've got to this point, because compared to what you were talking about when we first started talking about this sense of kind of like, I was struggling to cope and I just had to keep going, I had to keep going, and you've almost come like this full circle, and it's now like, actually, yes, all the job stuff has changed and what I'm doing and the path and I'm on is completely different, but actually having that moment and that realization of like, actually, I need to be okay first of all, like, as opposed to that sense before where it was like coping mechanisms and survival instinct. You've now come full circle, and it's like, actually, I need to be all right, and I need to take time out for myself.
You're no good to anybody else unless you look after yourself foremost. And I think it's just so important that we value self-care. And as women, we neglect ourselves. And I have burnt myself out before when I was, towards the end of working in the corporate industry. It was tough, and I don't really want that to happen again. And it's sharing this with other women to help them to understand it is okay. We do go through these things, but there is a comeback. You can help yourself, and you can recover, and something good can come of it. But I just want to emphasize the importance of self-care. And I think, without offending anybody, there are women that don't quite understand it yet because they're not in a position, they're not in a difficult position to sort of experience that life can be tough. But they, I mean, some people are happier to buy a pair of shoes or a handbag. And that was me too. I'd rather go out shopping and retail therapy and do that kind of thing, but not really do the right thing for self-care, not really understand what self-care is. And I think self-care is really taking time out for your health and looking at the future and understanding what you need to do to have a healthy future.
It's almost like the inner work, isn't it? It's almost like we kind of, at some point, it can get mistaken for the external of like self-care being like what you said, like, oh, going out shopping and I feel great. And you get that
Yeah.
peak, don't you? Of like, oh, I bought the new shares or the new handbag or I feel great.
Yeah.
But then it kind of then crashes down. So it's
Mm.
understanding actually that the self-care maybe more looks like inner work, because actually that will have a greater effect and a longer lasting effect. But I
Yeah.
completely understand what you're saying and I agree with you, because it's one of those things I think as women sometimes we put last, and
Yes, we do.
actually it needs to come first to have
Mm-hmm.
a longer lasting effect on us and everybody around us. And I think for me it's self-care doesn't, it can get so mixed up, because it can be like, oh, I've got a gratitude journal and I've got to go for walks in nature and I've got to, and it becomes such a long list and I get so overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't do any of that. I
Yeah.
can't do any of it. So actually, it's almost like breaking it down and being like, okay, you know what? It's okay just to go and stand outside in the fresh air for a couple of minutes and just kind of re-regulate my brain,
Yeah.
re-regulate my body, and then I'm going to be okay. Or do something small every single day, not something that has to take me an hour, because I don't have an hour. I don't have another hour.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, kind of looking at it like that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty about coaching as well, because
Mm.
you help people break things down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um, you know, we all say we're going to do things and we never actually do it.
Yeah.
And coaching helps you to be, as you know, to become accountable
Yeah.
for doing certain things.
Yeah.
And so it kind of helps with moving forward. And even if it's small, tiny little changes, which may not seem a big deal at the time, but they do have a big effect
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the outcomes.
Yeah.
And I know not, we have, when we have kids and jobs and everything, it's just so much to cope with and so overwhelming. It's a shame if people think that they have to make big drastic changes to
Mm.
improve their lives, and that's not the case. It really is about making small adjustments,
Yeah.
practical adjustments,
Yeah.
and choosing something that's sustainable and fits in with your life.
Mm.
So when I offer coaching, it's tailored to that individual and their lifestyle
Yeah.
and their personality. It's
Yeah.
so individualized and it's so important, because everyone is so unique and their
Yeah.
circumstances are different.
Yeah. And it's that compound effect, isn't it? That
Mm.
small compound effect, but in a positive way, which
Yeah,
then creates actually big change.
yeah,
But you're just doing it in a really small way and you're doing it consistently. And if you're consistently turning up for yourself, actually what you find is over a long period of time, the massive positive effect it can have on
yeah,
you, without you almost realizing it. So I think that is absolutely amazing. I'm glad
yeah,
you kind of highlighted that. I really am.
yeah. We shouldn't underestimate the power of making small changes. It
Yeah.
may seem insignificant, but
Yeah.
actually,
It has
it,
such a,
yeah.
huge amazing effect. You are amazing, lady. You are absolutely
Thank
amazing. I
you.
love what you're doing. I love that you are supporting other women and obviously got aspirations to go on and support men as well. So we're almost like, I feel like, I don't, well, we're kind of getting halfway through 2025. What are your goals, I guess, for the rest of 2025, whether that be business or for yourself personally? What does it look like?
Oh, I think, well, self-care is top of the list because
Yeah.
I don't want to burn out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So doing things for myself and my family, my children, because it's you don't have your children are not young for very long,
No,
and they
they not.
go and do their own thing. And business wise, I really want to have, dreams of flourishing this year, and I really want to
Amazing.
create that awareness. 2025 is looking very positive. There's some really good projects on the horizon. And I just want to get the word out there to women that are finding it a challenge right now, but also to the younger women,
Yeah.
and focusing on their hormonal health. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really excited this year. New things are
Yeah.
opening up,
Good.
and I'm so looking forward to doing new things and
Yeah.
Get the word out.
Yeah, she's a woman on a mission, and I love it because she's supporting other women, she's supporting other people, she's an inspiration. You are amazing. You really
I
are.
love it. I love talking, in case you didn't realize, but I just
Don't worry, we're fine. Don't worry about
but
it.
I love sharing knowledge.
Yes, it's so important, right? Because actually there is power in knowledge, right? And helping other people. So that's why I'm such a supporter of what you're doing. I'm really, really
Yeah.
am.
Thank you.
Okay, so last question, which is
Uh,
always some people are like, if there is someone out there who maybe was you 5 years ago, whether that be feeling how you did, kind of coming out of the corporate world and not knowing what to do, or whether that be kind of starting their perimenopausal journey or their menopausal journey, what would be the one piece of advice you would give them?
yeah, it is a tough one from
Yeah,
different angles,
it's always one that gets people.
because I look back and I just always say, I wish somebody told me.
Yeah.
I wish I knew, what was coming. And so if I could turn back the clock or tell someone now who's where I was like 5, 6, 10 years ago, I would say, take the time out and find out more about your health, dedicate more time
Yeah.
to yourself, and talk to someone like me.
Yeah.
We're always offering free discovery calls
Yes.
where you can find out a little bit more. If you're struggling, talk to somebody. It's so important. And I know that women go to their GPs, and GPs don't have that much time,
Yeah.
whereas we have so much time to give you, and so much knowledge to empower you with.
Yeah.
So I just think it's I think we're here, we're available.
Yeah.
Don't buy that handbag.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly that. Right.
Come and see us, you know,
Yes.
just for this one time, and just see what's available to you. Just see what
Yeah.
information's out there and understand a bit, take the time to care for yourself and understand a bit more about yourself, and try and look into the future. I know someone in their 30s would be like, oh, I don't need to know about menopause and stuff. But I really wish someone told me,
Yeah.
because back then, instead of kind of going out clubbing and
Yeah.
drinking
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
eating everything I wanted, I wouldn't want to spoil anyone's fun. No one's saying spoil your fun, but just be a little bit more mindful about, continuing your exercise. Or I used to dance salsa. I would have carried on if I knew how
Yeah.
important resistance training and
Yeah.
exercise was in my life. I would have carried on and seen that. More importantly, yes, you have children and everything, but it's so important to make time for yourself.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. It's an absolute honor to sit down with you. It's lovely to talk about your backstory and how you've got to where you got to now and who you're helping and why you're so passionate about it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much,
No,
Sally,
not at all.
because you're amazing at what you do.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
And when I heard you speak, I was like, oh wow, there's just so much to share, and
There is.
it's an absolute pleasure doing this. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. What I will do is I will drop all the links in below in the notes, so that if anybody wants to reach out to you, whether that be for private coaching, whether that be for discovery calls, or whether they are in the corporate industry and like, I need someone like you, or whether that's in schools or gyms or whatever that might look out like. So I will put all your details below. And yeah, thank you so much, my darling, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day. So thank you
you
for
too.
joining me.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Take care,
care.
sweetheart.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.